على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد أما بعد. So welcome back. We continue from Surah Tur, which is the 52nd Surah of the Quran, and within the juz system it is the 27th juz, because there are different ways, there are different formats in how they divide up the Quran for recitation. Some people in like in Africa there's a different system, and then India have a different system, which is the Juz system, J-U-Z, which is what we use because of most of the Muslims came from India and influenced Islam that way, right? And in the East, they have a thing called the Hizb, like it breaking up into every quarter. Okay, break down it into every quarter, and some of them break down for the Quran to be read every 7 days, and some of them break down for the Quran to be read every month. That's the Juz system, J-U-Z system. And then Sheikh Imran have another breakdown where he recites a certain amount of surahs. He don't, like in the Juz, you might have a Juz in the middle of a surah. He don't do that. He goes straight to the end of the surah. Okay? What you call it, boy? The moon system. That's what you call it. Right? So that was best. All these different formats are just for teaching purposes. It's not a problem. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We go.
Ramadan is nearly here, and the opportunity it brings can't be repeated. Every day it
So Allah conferred favor upon us and protected us from the punishment of the scorching fire. إِنَّا كُنَّا مِن قَبْلُ نَدْعُوهُ إِنَّهُ هُوَ الْبَرُّ الرَّحِيمُ. Indeed, we used to supplicate him before. Indeed, it is he who is the beneficent, the merciful. فَذَكِّرْ فَمَا أَنْتَ بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ بِكَاهِنٍ وَلَا مَجْنُونٍ. So remind, O Muhammad, for you are not, by the favor of your Lord, a soothsayer or a madman. أَمْ يَقُولُونَ شَاعِرٌ نَتَرَبَّصُ بِهِ رَيْبَ الْمَنُونِ. Or do they say of you, a poet for whom we await a misfortune of time? قُلْ تَرَبَّصُوا فَإِنِّي مَعَكُمْ مِنَ الْمُتَرَبِّصِينَ. Say, wait, for indeed I am with you among the waiters.
Okay. So the discussion continues from 27, verse 27. And it is there, what is recorded here is the discussion in Jannah between the different people who are there, the inhabitants of the Jannah, and they'll be discussing their past life. And whatever is there, we didn't have enough information from Allah. You just mentioned about this small conversation. And so they mentioned, as you said in 26, before this they coming into the paradise, that on earth they were very anxious. They were anxious about if they were in a state of hope and fear, anxiety, whether they will make the grade or whether they will be enter the hellfire. So in that discussion, they continued And they said, but now, in the conclusion, they say, but now, which means, but now the state they're in now, this particular state they are in now, in the garden, but now Allah has favored us. Allah has showed us forgiveness and shielded us from the fire, or saved us from the torment of the scorching wind. Okay, this scorching wind is a wind in Jahannam, in hell, and it is called As-Samum. As-A-S-S-A-M-U-M. As-Samum. And the reason why it is called As-Samum, because it penetrates the pores of the person in the hellfire. So you have the punishment with the fire, which is enough punishment, and then on top of that you have this wind, and when it hits you, it enters your pores. It enters. Sometimes when a cold wind hits you, how it just frees up it enter your body. This is what the Samum will be, but it will be heat instead of cold. And Allah tells us that is the name of that particular wind, as a way to intimidate and to dissuade us from being of the people of Jahannam. All of these threats and all of these things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us is really to discourage us from going to hell. Okay, it's a discouragement. Because if I don't want you to go somewhere, I'll speak bad about the place. If you go there, you will get robbed, and somebody might kidnap you, you might get raped, or people will beat you up. All that is a discouragement. And if you want people to come to our place, you have the people advertising, nice waterfall, nice food, nice people welcoming, and and people everybody looking happy. So this is how the Quran advertise hell and advertise the Jannah, so that it will be an encouragement in one area and a discouragement in another area. And then he said on ayah 28 now, they continue the conversation. Even then, we will call on him, for he is the most kind and the most merciful. So he said, even back then, although we were anxious, right, in the world, Jalal said, even then, before that, in the world, we used to call on him, worship him, and affirm or declare his oneness, the Tawheed. Indeed, right? Indeed, he is the most kind, right? And the most merciful. He is the most kind and he is the most merciful. So, what is it saying here? It declares us, it tells us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has an attribute of kindness, and Allah also has an attribute of being merciful, or somebody of tremendous mercy. Okay, tremendous, not just a small amount of mercy. Okay, he has a whole lot of mercy. And this is interesting because what a lot of people miss, a lot of Muslims miss this. And it is known among a lot of Muslims also, but a lot of Muslims miss it also. Calling on Allah by his attributes. We learned that Allah has 99 plus 1 attributes. Okay? Now, we don't mean that he do have others, but the other attributes he have, you could stick. It can find a meaning in any of the 99. Okay? Because you could never stop. You can never stop. So Allah says the most kind, and I can say is the most gentle, and I can use other words that all of that are part of kindness. Okay, so don't let anybody confuse you. So you mean Allah only have 99 names? We're not so narrow in our thinking. Okay, all the other names you can fit it under the names that for example, Allah say he's the Fatir, the one who begins creation. I could say he's the creator, he's the originator. It means the same. It means the same thing. Now, so, and this is interesting because Abdul Qadir Jilani said that, we should approach Allah by his names, invoke Allah by his names. Okay, you're up against enemies, you call on the tough attributes of Allah, Al-Qadir, the powerful, and you invoke Allah by these names. Because what has happened in the world is that people, after a time, they made a specific God out of the name of Allah. For example, they will say there's the God of justice, there's the God of mercy, and then they will tell you, well, all of them is one God. Yes, but what has happened is that over time, they separate Allah's attributes and made Allah's attributes into gods itself. Okay, that happened amongst a lot of the Aboriginal people of the earth, most of the traditional religions of the earth, in Africa, in Asia, even in Europe. God of war, God of this, God of that. Right? All it is that all of these are the names of Allah, and Allah said invoke them, call on him by these names. And a lot of us miss that. And there's so much spiritual self-defense and spiritual attacks that a Muslim could defend and attack using the names of Allah against people who might be doing you wrong, or protection against people who scheming, or for Allah to put a protection around your family and Allah to seal that protection around your family, or protection around your property, or protection around your house, protection around your marriage, protection around your own self, to protect you from diseases, to protect you from worry, protect you from poverty. We really have to re-engage our thinking, as Muslims. So you find that if you don't know these things, and there are people whose hands are dirty in this world. Okay, it might be on your job, especially in jobs where there's a fight for promotion and for moving up the ladder. In those kind of jobs, you have a lot of hasad, you have a lot of envy and bad. People will go by the hobby, man. Take something from your possession, either your hair, or a cup you're drunk in, or some part of your clothing. Now, people used to say, that is suspicious. But now, if a detective is doing an investigation, he uses all these things. You get DNA from your sweat. You get DNA from your hair, your fingers, your nails. It's the same thing. The jinns, in order to attack you, they have to get something that is associated with you in the spiritual realm, right? For them to attack. If you bring a clean piece of cloth that have no sweat, nothing, who is this person? It's a non-person. So when they take these things out and they do the wickedness, right? But you happy-go-lucky Muslim going along, you know, you're going around the mulberry bush and you're happy, and then you come under attack, and you don't yourself know what's happening because the jinn realize, the spirit realize that you're ignorant. So the spirit that is negative, that's attacking you, okay, it knows that you have no self-defense because you haven't been practicing no self-defense. Okay, if you go to a karate class for one day, and then you never went back, and after 3 months a group of men attack you, you figure you could do this kata and that kata. No, they go beat you or you run. Either one of the two. Right? So you have to get these things in your practice. Right? And when it becomes part of your practice, when these evil forces come at you, they will see the evidence of your zikr. You see the evidence of your understanding. You know, they're operating on a different realm. Okay? They're operating on a different way than us. Okay? And that's why the Prophet said that if you meet it, sorry, I don't want to say the Prophet say, but there's a saying, I'm not too sure, I don't want to attribute it to the Prophet, I'm not sure. But there's a saying that says that if somebody meets you, like one of these people, and they're able to tell you your name and the name of your father and certain things about you, you know, that person is working with a jinn. Right? Because remember, when all of us were born, right, and the angel, where is this thing going? Yeah, the angel right on our foreheads. Right? Everything concerning us, the decree, whether we could be happy or sad, which means whether we enter the Jannah or not, the decree is on your head there. So the jinns are able to read that. They come in like you're walking around with an ID card, but you can't see it. Right? But spiritually they can see it. Right? So you have to fortify yourself too, because you know we live in a world of physical and evil forces. And some people, when they cannot be too physical, I mean spiritually, they come physical. This is another thing that we have to remember. So we ask Allah protection in both sides. Right? We ask Allah for bodily protection, and we ask Allah for spiritual protection. You know, especially you work in an office, and you know there's room for people to become the manager and become the CEO and to move up in rank and things like that. Okay, in the office or in the service or anywhere you find yourself where people compete for spaces, right? You must be very, very careful. Okay, even be careful where you eat and all. You understand? So all of these things, you know, we have as Muslims, and all of this is part of our reality. Okay, so they say even then we will call on him, for he is the most kind and the most merciful. So during their anxiety, right? During their anxiety, they used to call Ya Latif, you know, Ya Rahim, Ya Rahman. You know, they call on Allah, they call on His names. So it shows you here that dhikr is a relief. Okay, for anxieties, is a relief for you know, like being worried all the time. You know, as we say locally, you're taking on things, and due to this, we have seen an increase in stress, and people having strokes, and people having heart failure, heart attacks, and all these different kind of things. Okay, and that's one of the feature of the Day of Judgment. A lot of people will die from these attacks, sudden attacks. Why? Because the society will become so stressful. You're studying about books for children, you're studying about transportation, you're studying about when you go to the market, everything expensive. You're studying about the neighbor next door giving you problems. You're studying about somebody on the work doing it, and all these things build up, right? So sometimes you have to take a time and do the to chase these things away and put your mind in a better frame and put your body in a better frame of mind. Okay, this is very, very important. Because we don't want to be among the people, we have high blood pressure and we have this and we have that, all these things. So we have to be very, very, very careful. Then we continue. So remind them, prophet, for by the grace of your Lord, you are not a soothsayer, nor a madman. So, which means the Prophet ﷺ said, Allah said to the Prophet, don't let up, don't stop, persist, carry on, reminding the people. Islam is a reminder. Now, how can we say that? How can we validate this statement? Islam is a reminder. If I remind you of something, it means that it's something that you knew before. Correct? So that's the only way I can remind you. It had to be something that you know before. So how would we answer this question? All right? Because Allah says, do not stop reminding those who make idols and those who join partners to Allah. Keep reminding them. Now, according to the Quran, all of us, every single one of us, today, yesterday, and to who to come, right? Before we came on this earth, okay, we had a spiritual existence. And Allah said, He gathered all the souls of Adam children, for those who are to be born from now until the day of judgment. And He said, Alastu Rabbikum, am I not your Lord? All the people. But we can't remember that. All the people, all the souls that was to be born in this world, Allah at one point call all these souls together and say, am I not your Lord? And everybody say, Bala, yeah, for sure. Everybody bear witness. Everybody bear witness that Allah is our Lord. That's why human beings born with an inclination to worship. If they don't worship God, they worship a poet or a singer or a woman or a man, or they worship nature, or they worship something. That's the nature of man. Right? And Allah said that He created mankind in order than to worship Him. But we have this in us, this thing in us to worship. And if we don't find Allah, we worship other things. So, actually, when you preach Islam to somebody and about the oneness of Allah and about all these things, you are trying to reactivate their spirit, the memory there in their spirit, which they bore witness to. Okay, that's why you hear some people become Muslims. They say, when they hear the message, it just hit them. That they get this clarity, as if the eyes open. Wait now. But this is the truth, you know what I mean? A lot of people tell you that, that it just resonate. That's the word they use. It resonates with them. Right? The sound of it hit their hearts and the heart responded. It resonates. So That is what it is. So that is now when you now say, okay, I went down to the masjid, or you went to your friend and say, I want to become a Muslim. You say, okay, sit down. He talk to you about Allah, give you some of the information, and then he tell you, bear witness. Now it's the same thing. What it is you bearing witness to, because I can carry you to court and put you on the stand and say, are you a witness? Right? Yeah. If you wasn't there on the scene, the court might, charge you, or the lawyer might be in trouble, or the officer might be in trouble, or you could bring a man who was never there. So the shahada is called shahada, which means to bear witness. What it is you are bearing witness to? You only bear witness to that what you know. So in Islam, it spiritually reconnect you. Very important. It's a spiritual reconnection to Allah, and to that time, when all of us bear witness that Allah is our Lord, Allah is our Rabb. That is why we say every child is born a Muslim. Even Bush, even Trump, every single person was born a Muslim. But after a time, due to society or to other religious doctrine, they change. Right? And that state of being born a Muslim is called fitra, F-I-T-R-A-H, fitra. Now, when I say everybody is born a Muslim, I ain't talking about all the other things we add on, like Sunni Muslim, Shia Muslim, this kind of Muslim, that kind of Muslim, moderate Muslim. No, we're talking about the basic meaning of what is a Muslim: somebody who submit to Allah. The trees are Muslims. They submit. They don't go in opposition to Allah. Okay, so that is what we're talking about. We're not talking about Muslims who follow a particular Sharia. Right? We're talking about the original blueprint which Allah has created man. He's created man in submission, and that's all what Muslim mean. This is a person who has submitted his will to Allah. Okay, but your practice will be after a certain prophet, and that's how you get your Sharia. You understand? That's how you get your Sharia. So we have the Sharia of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and then we have the Sharia of Musa. And there can be differences in the Sharia, but in the basic message, there's no difference. You're not one saying, you won't have one prophet saying there's one God, and next one say, nah, it's 1.5 God, and next one say, no, it's 3 in 1. You don't have all of that. Okay? You have all the prophets saying Allah is one. Allah is one, and obey me. So remind them, for by the grace of Allah, you are not a magician, somebody who does magic, or a soothsayer. A soothsayer is like somebody who has connection to spirits, like what we call a obeah, right? Or a madman. For by the grace of your Lord, Allah was gracious to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because Allah gave him the guidance of Islam. So Allah was gracious to the Prophet by his bestowing grace on him. You are not a kahin. Okay, a kahin is a soothsayer or obeah man, or a priest of the occultic sciences. Okay, that if you have a proper translation of the word soothsayer, is like a priest of the occultic sciences. Occult just means secret. of the secret sciences, and those secret sciences have to do with spirits and all these different forces that people call on, and that and that and on top of that, you are not Majnun. Majnun mean mad. Your brains is not clouded. Majnun, the word Jannah, the word jinn and Jannah come from the same word. Because jinn are beings that we cannot see. It also means to block off something. So to block off, you have a garden. Because in those days, the garden was always blocked off. You can't just walk up to it. It was blocked off with other type of bushes or trees, So that's why they call it the enclosed garden. It was enclosed. Okay, so Majnun, your senses were covered. They call madman. And why they call him a madman? Because either he have a mental defect. So all these things that he is saying about paradise and hell and all these different things is because his mind is not stable. He has a psychological, what day to day, you'll see he have a psychological problem. Or he has a deficiency in his senses. Or simply in the normal parlance, he mad, yes. Go take you on, he mad. So it's a sort of dismissal. Okay, so Allah says that he's not a kahin, somebody who practices secret or the occultic sciences, nor was he person having a psychological problem. Okay, he's not a mad person. Or do they say that he is a poet? He's just a poet. So all these things you are hearing of the Quran, it came from his brilliance. It didn't come from it was not a revelation from Allah. It came from his brilliance and his intellectual strength as a poet. So he's making up all these things because and telling it's from God, but actually it's from him. He made that up because he's a good poet, right? And therefore, if he's just a poet, what they say he's a poet. So if he's just a poet, then we just have to be patient. He will end up just like other poets end up. Poets in those societies, and if you know what societies, poets, when they make their poems about the ills of the society or the oppression of the rulers or any other societal problems, people either ignore them. So he will end up like other poets, you just ignore him, or you end up like other poets, we will chase them away because we don't want to hear them. Okay, or sometimes poets face death. Because if you made a bad poem against the ruler, especially in those times, you can end up dying, and in these days, you can end up in jail. For treason, for stirring up protests in the society that could endanger the life of the people. So he's just a poet. So we will wait him out, and he will just end up just like other poets end up. Okay, and another way the poets can end up sweet talking the rulers all the time and getting money, so you have no effect. So he can end up like that. You end up some good ruler meet him, or a good king, or a good ruler, and they pay him to make nice poems about them. So don't worry about him. He has basically what he's saying. What he is saying cannot affect you, and what he's saying is not the truth. So don't worry about it. And then Allah said to the prophet, to tell them to wait. Wait, and we shall see. We shall see what is the outcome of this message. We shall see if all that you are saying is truth or lie. He said, wait, and and Allah told him to tell them, and I shall be waiting with you. So just as you are waiting, don't worry, I am also waiting, with you. So don't worry that, don't feel is you alone waiting, because I am also waiting, because I also have expectations, from Allah. I also have expectation from Allah, said that this message, what this message will do, and the positive things of this message that will bring about the change in the individuals and in society. So let's wait and see if what my Lord is saying is true, or what people who disbelieve in what I'm saying is true. It could either be one or the other. Somebody had to be something. Someone has to be on the truth, or someone has to be on falsehood. To have no middle path. Okay, so let me just wait and see what go on. Okay, let's go.
أم تأمرهم أحلامهم بهذا أم هم قوم طاغون. Or do their minds command them to say this, or are they a transgressing people? أم يقولون تقوله بل لا يؤمنون. Or do they say, he has made it up? Rather, they do not believe. فليأتوا بحديث مثله إن كانوا صادقين. Then let them produce a statement like it, if they should be truthful. أم خلقوا من غير شيء أم هم الخالقون. Or were they created by nothing, or were they the creators of themselves?
Okay. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, right, that do their mind tell them what they are seeing? So Allah is saying, what is the root of your opposition? What is why are you saying all these things? Okay, where are the source of what you are seeing? Do the faculties of your understanding prompt these ideas into your mind? And what Allah is talking about, that when they call him a sorcerer, poet, a madman, etc., Allah say, where is the source of these ideas are coming from? And in other words, he's questioning the authority. What authority they have to reject this message. What other source of information that could disprove the message, right? So because it comes from their faculties. Okay, it came from their mind and their intelligence, acting out in this way. So what Allah is basically saying, this is just your desires, that you say it in a very intellectual way, and a way to dismiss the message, right? So you use your intellectual ability and you present arguments against the message. So he said, do their minds urge them to say this, or are they rebellious people? So Allah say, is that your authority, or you're just a rebellious people? Just some people, if you tell them yes, they say no. If you tell them no, they say yes. They're just rebellious, because they just be on the opposition. They oppose the message, and that is what we call being obstinate. Obstinate, means like, what is an obstacle course? They have it in when you're doing sports, or when in the military, they have a course you have to run, and there are obstacles in the course. Okay, sometimes you have to jump over a small wall, sometimes you have to jump over a pool of water, or sometimes a pit of fire. You know, sometimes you have to scale up a wall and scale down. You know, this is what you call an obstacle course. There are things in the way that prevent you from running straight. So just put up all these obstacles in the way against the message of Islam, so that it will not succeed. You know, it makes it difficult, and we have found this in our time. You know, some people, they have no other argument, they have no intellectual argument, so they put up obstacles in the way of those who believe. So it makes it either make it difficult for you to practice Islam, or it make it difficult for other people to practice Islam or even believe in Islam. Because when they look at Islam and they see all these different obstacles that affect Muslims, they say, you see me, I don't want that. I want a cool life. Me want all this kind of chalala. I don't want all these kind of problems. Okay, I want a life with no problems. So, you know, because if I become a Muslim, you know, these people will see this, and that woman like me, and so this go happen and that go happen, and all these different things. Okay, all of these things are obstacles to prevent people from becoming Muslim, and the obstacles could be in yourself also. And like I heard a guy saying, you know, I like Islam, you know, I really like Islam, but you see this, I can't party and drink, you know. I ain't even heard that, you know, so let me just party and drink, you know. So you're not willing to give up a desire which has become an obstacle from him accepting the truth which he knows. Then, or do they say he has made it up? Okay, or then do they say that he has made it up? He has invented it. They just don't believe. Okay, so they say, look, you see this man, he invented all of that. He concocted all of that. Okay, see, this man make up all of that. This Quran that you're hearing is a made-up book. Rather, they are not people who believe out of arrogance. They're not even willing to examine the points, or look at the arguments, or look at the evidence that is being presented towards them, because they are arrogant. You know, and you hear it a lot, you know, especially from white Western civilization. You know, they look down on other civilization. You know, them black people can't do that. Them Asian can't do that. Them Chinese can't do that. You know, they look at themselves as superior, and they look down on any achievement that non-white people have made in the world, or they throw cold water on the new inventions and call it into question. Why? Because they can believe in their minds that these people could produce that. For years, they're looking at the pyramids, and they say that these pyramids were not built by black people. They was built by a kind of mixture people, or some white people who came and settled in Egypt. They cannot believe that these pyramids were built by dark-skinned people. They couldn't believe that. Why? Because they had dark-skinned people under slavery. So when they watched the slaves who were dark-skinned, and they watch the pyramid and say, he could build that? Nah. that them fellas can't do nothing. Them fellas have no civilization. Right? So is a sort of arrogance, that other people cannot achieve, what one civilization has. And in this sense here, right, they are saying that, because remember, they used to say, what are you telling us? I mean, out of all of the people in Mecca, all of the Arabs in Mecca, Allah decided to give you revelation. Why not one of the more prominent people in society? Because they can't see any good coming out of these people. If revelation was to come, it will come on one of the famous people. And that is why people get beside themselves when they hear a celebrity or a well-known person become Muslim. Oh, this man become Muslim. They get kind of wild. Their eyes open up. They're very excited about it. But that's how human beings are. So what makes his Shada different or better than yours? He's just another person. Despite whatever qualities Allah gave him that he has used to become famous. But that's just what human beings are. Somehow, in the human mind, even they as a Muslim and they know the truth, that Islam is the truth, like somewhere in their mind, when they see a celebrity, quote unquote celebrity, accept Islam like it, I don't know what to say, like it becomes more truthful. Or if there is something in truth, it's truth. It can become more or less true, truth is truth. So, as if it becomes more truthful, I guess it's just one of the things about mankind, that we have to live with, right? But this is how it is. Somehow it kind of energize them, So I don't want to make it too negative, but I'm trying to show you that sometimes this is one of our natures as human beings. Right? So they say that he has made up his Quran. All of this is his intelligence. Or he has plagiarized, he has copied it from somebody else. He has copied what somebody say and stitch it up together with something else. And all of this thing basically is made up. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if it's like that, then let them produce a discourse like it, if they are speaking the truth. Okay, so he did all of that. Then he's a man like you. You might be even more educated than him. Then you produce something, right? You produce something like it. Excuse. You produce something like it. And there's another place in the Quran where Allah challenged them that even just to make 3 verses. So call together all your jinns, all your friends, smartest people, and just to make 3 verses. So if it's made up, fine. You go and make up something similar. And let's compare. If you are speaking the truth. Now, in Arabic it said, let them produce a hadith. So you have this group of people called the Quraniyun. They say that they are only following the Quran, nothing else. They don't follow no hadith because Allah says in the Quran, let them produce a hadith. The word hadith is a word that could be applied to a statement that somebody made. It could be applied to stories. It could be applied to narrations. It also has a technical meaning. Okay, in the time of the Prophet Islam, it took on a technical meaning to mean something that the Prophet Islam said, or something that somebody said about the Prophet that he did, or something that people said that their Prophet, peace be upon him, approve of. So what he said, what he did, or what he approved of. And if I narrate that, it's called a hadith. But then that is not the only word, that's not the only usage of the word. Okay? I could watch a movie and say, I agree with the hadiths of this movie now. You know, which means I don't agree with the story of this movie. I don't agree with the storyline or what is this movie is saying. So they try to use this here, this ayat and plenty ayats like this. Just because it's a hadith, they're trying to tell you he's talking about Bukhari, Muslim, Muwatta, Tirmizi, Sunan Abu, and all these different books of hadith. No. Okay, there are words. There's the linguistic meaning, which means the what it means as regards language, and what it means as regards technical meaning. Okay, so the technical meaning refers to the narration found in the different books of narrations like Bukhari, Muslim, and all these other books. And there's a linguistic meaning, which means everyday talk. Now, I'll give you a good example. In the time of the Prophet Sallallahu, the word kuf and kafir didn't mean what we mean today. A kafir was a farmer. A kafir was a farmer. Why? Because he would take the seed and put it into the earth and cover it. And because of that action, he was called a kafir. And kufur means to hide a seed in the ground. And an agricultural village was called kufra. Even up to today, in the Arab world, an agricultural village is called kufra, kufu. Kufra, sorry, right? Because the agricultural village is a place where people put seeds into the ground, cover it. Now, spiritually and religiously, the seed is truth. And you put it in the ground and you cover it, which means that a kafir is somebody who recognizes that this thing is truth, but you cover it. And covering it is called disbelieving it. Just disbelieving it. You don't want to, So they took a physical meaning and turned it into a technical or spiritual meaning. Okay? The word Sharia. A Sharia was like a track or a trace. So if you have a trace going up to your house, that man have a Sharia up to his house, meaning you have a trace. That's the linguistical meaning, language meaning. Then there's the technical meaning. Sharia mean it consists of the commandments of Allah and to guide you on your way to and at them time Sharia used to mean like a track that take you to a place of water. So spiritually, the Sharia is a place that take you to a place that is beneficial for you. Just as the Sharia before take you to a place where you can get water, you rest by you bathe and then you take some water home, right? So it's just that the Sharia takes you to a place that is beneficial. So it have a linguistical meaning, which means a language meaning, and it have a technical meaning, which means that it is applied in a different sense, not the sense of what it is normally understood to be. Okay, this thing is very, very important. We must be able to differentiate. Okay, so let them make up something like this if they are truthful. And let them produce a discourse like it if they are speaking the truth. So if they are speaking the truth, okay, let them bring something similar to it. Right? So some people use this verse in a wrong way to have a meaning that the verse never intended, because they want to justify their own understanding. Let's continue.
Or did they create the heavens and the earth? Rather, they are not certain. Or have they the depositories containing the provision of your Lord? Or are they the controllers of them?
Okay. So Allah says that, or did they sorry, I messed up a verse here. 36. Or were they created out of nothing? Did they come into existence from nothingness? How did they come into existence? Without the creator? Or are they the creator of themselves? It makes no sense for a created thing to have no creator. Jalalain said that. Once you have existence, it had to be there's something that brought you into existence. Once there's existence, something has to bring you into existence. And Jalalain further said there must be a creator of them, and that is God, the one. So why do they not bear witness and believe in his oneness and believe in his messenger and his book? Or did they create the heavens and the earth? Okay? Because nobody else but Allah can create the heavens and the earth. So why are you not worshiping Allah? So what Allah is cornering them, did you create yourself? Or did you make the heavens and the earth, or just some creator? Okay? Or did you create this whole existence? So if you acknowledge that there's a creator, then why are you not worshiping this creator and bearing witness that that creator is one, and following his messenger and following his book? Allah is trying to reason with them. And the first thing he points to your existence. How do you explain your existence on this earth? That is why they invent these different theories about evolution and all these different type of things. Because they want to disbelieve. Because if all of us came from the stars, dust, or we came from water, they never tell you where the water comes from. They say that there was water. And in the water, you have these cells that develop. Where the water comes from, Lord knows. They never tell you where the water comes from. They just suppose that there's water because this is how they narrate their hadith of the world and its existence. So if we just come from all these things, then there's no morality, there's no right or wrong, other than what society make up. There's no, we just wild beasts, we just beasts, and we make our own laws, and we do what we want, but we have to listen to our messenger or God or a book or anything like that. And this is where the disbelief come from. So they try to negate. You see what they do? They try to negate their own creation. And Allah is telling us here that did you create yourself? So they start exactly where Allah start in order to win the argument. So Allah took them right back to that point. So they had some time to make up a story about how they came into the earth, how the earth came in the first place. They say it's a big bang. But can you hear in space? Can you hear a bang in space? We still don't know. They say it's a big bang. When it cool, water appear and oxygen appear and water and all these things. Okay, just like that. Okay, so it was a big bang. As who was there to hear the noise? They didn't tell us. Let's say it was a big bang. So did they create the heavens and the earth? No. Can anybody Allah create it? So why do they not worship him? But they are not sure. Right? Basically, they are not sure. And those who are not sure, what do we call them? Agnostics. There are people who say they don't believe or disbelieve that there is a God. They're not sure. And they are called agnostics. Okay? Agnostics. And then we have atheists. Those who do not believe in a God. So those who have doubt, so Allah say, are they in doubt? Are they not certain about him? Otherwise, they will have believed in him and his prophet. Or do they possess the treasures of your Lord in the way of prophethood and provisions and other matters, so that they are able to give it, to assign what they will exclusively to whom they want? It's the same thing I was saying, that part of the whole opposition to the prophet and to most prophets is because, why the revelation was given to you? Why it couldn't be somebody else? And unfortunately, we have some of these situations going on, amongst us as Muslims. Why somebody who come from a place that you think they shouldn't come from to be given any leadership over you, and not even leadership, right? Or given any opportunity to help guide the community, okay, or to do positive work in the community, or to give an advice in the community. We should be one it should be given to, not that person. And it's just part of the human being too. The saying that Allah said, so if you possess the treasures of the earth, right, treasure of your Lord, or do you control them? So you telling you saying, telling Allah where to, where he should put his mercy and make this man a prophet, or what, or to guide this person, or to make this person a leader. You telling Allah that, right? So you're saying that, do you own that? So that if you own it, you can give it to who you want. You can only give out what you own. So you're giving out things that doing so belongs to you. You saying Allah, this should go there and that should go there. But doing so belongs to you. This is a deep thing. It's not yours. But you want to say where it should go. Right? Angela Line saying, are they the ones in control? Are they the mighty ones who holds power and sway? Okay? Are they those people? You know, so they're in control, right? So all of this is in that simple sentence. Are you the one who control that you can give it who you want? Are you the mighty people, the mighty ones? The ones who hold sway, the ones who hold power? Okay. Or are you the ones that is the boss? Let me put it in our language. Are you one is the boss to give out the jobs and the contracts to who you please? No. Big fat no. So all of these, you know, what I personally have, I don't know anybody else, but what I have personally found in the Quran, every time I read the Quran, I understand myself and human beings. Right? And you shouldn't just read the Quran. Allah say reflect on the Quran. Reflect. Then Allah talk about reading the Quran, he said reflect, tadabbur. Dabbara yudabbiru. Dabbar means to reflect on it, you know, you go into it. You don't just read it. You try to read 10, 15 verses. You know, reflect on what is it reading? You know, what can be learned, what can be taken from it. Because look, sometimes one simple verse, and I even want to go on and on sometime because we have a short time. Okay, but look, in this simple verse, right? Or do they possess the treasures of your Lord or control them? We could have a whole psychological discussion on that. We could have a whole social discussion on that. We could have a political discussion on that. This is how deep the Quran is. We could even have a scientific discussion on it from different aspects of humans' life. You know, we could look at these issues. And this is how deep the Quran is. And that's why Allah says that you should reflect on the Quran. Okay, reflect on the book. You know, don't just read it as a hymn. And you're done. You know, the Quran is not meant to, it's part of its character to be read out loud, yes. But he also said to reflect on it. Reflect on what is you're saying. When the Quran means a recitation, to recite out loud. Okay, because remember, it was a message. The Quran already is a message that was delivered to a people. So the whole nature of the Quran is to invite people to Islam. It's a discourse. It's a conversation, you know, with Allah and the human being by means of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, as the one who is bringing the message. Because in parts of the message, Allah is telling the Prophet to tell them certain things. In part of the message, Allah is telling them even what they're thinking. Or do you think so and so and so? You know, he read their minds and from what authority are you behaving like this? Was that way of life? Was that way that you are doing? Was it passed down to you from your ancestors? That this is how you should behave when it comes to somebody bringing a message to you? So that how come you're doing the same nonsense as your ancestors doing? And that's why we do not follow ancestors' religion. That just because your father do it that way, you mean it must be done that way. Okay? And that's what I told the Prophet. We never found our fathers doing like what you were saying. They tell the Prophet plain. We never found our Arab fathers doing what we come to talk about. We never find our fathers. Although they descended from Abraham. But by the time they were born, their immediate forefathers had already gone astray, so they didn't find any remnant of the message. Although there were some people who still follow Abraham there, and they still told people that, you know, the real ancestor, if you go right back, not just those who went astray. If you're counting from those who went astray, yes. But if you're counting with those who were guided properly, you know, this is where you should go back to. So any questions? So we stop on verse 38 and we'll continue 39 from tomorrow. Okay, so any questions before we close? Okay, so thanks for being here, inshallah, and thanks for your time, which I value, and I hope that it will weigh heavy on your scales of good deeds when you really need it. You might know where this thing come from to off-balance your bad deeds, inshallah. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa alaikum salam. Assalamu alaikum.